Need a piece of paper. Could be colorful, could be white. Needs to be 8 centimeters. 8 centimeters. And in the other direction, about 2 centimeters is good. Right there. And that's what I'll cut out. There's my band of paper. I want to put 3 beads on this paper, but before I put the beads on, I need to make holes. So 2 centimeter spacing is good. So 2, 4, 6, 3 spots. Use a hole puncher. Try to get the hole right on the line, but it doesn't have to be perfect. There. So 3 evenly spaced holes is what you're looking for. So now I want to glue beads on top of these holes. The bead has a hole, so I want to line up the hole of the bead with the hole on the paper. Little dab of hot glue is the goal. Try not to block the hole. Stick that down. Line it up so the hole of the bead lines up with the hole in the paper. Do that 3 times. It's likely that you'll have stuck your special piece of paper to the paper beneath. Try to carefully disengage. There we go. So these beads with the holes will represent glucose transporter proteins. We probably can't fit an actual glucose molecule through them, but you can imagine it. Now we want to make this into a ring. Like so. So dab a little glue from the glue stick right there. And you should be able to stick it. Okay, there's my ring with glucose transporters attached. You want to be able to open it up, so don't stick it down so that it's permanently sealed, just temporarily together. This assemblage should fit inside your cell model box nicely. Here's glucose transporter proteins that are inside the cell, or they can't do anything useful. Now with your cell box, use the hole puncher again. Try to make a hole somewhere near the top, like that. You'll need one of these cubes. This is a cubic centimeter. Has a little nub on it, and lay that down on the paper and make a mark like so, a little shorter than the actual cube. Then cut that across. This you want to be between 5 and 6 centimeters in length, somewhere around there. This is not a precise measurement. Now you want to wrap the cube with this piece of paper. Don't want it to be too tight, so make sure the cube can still move inside its paper wrapping. And a little piece of tape here to seal it. Boop. Alright, so there's my wrapping of the cube. That is supposed to go right on top of the hole, and you'll need to secure it with at least a couple pieces of tape. The nice narrow pieces of tape will work. Like that. One on this side as well. Okay, should be centered. Mine is off center a little bit. I think it's okay. So this is meant to hold the cube. So if you've done it well, your cube will be able to fit inside this box. Like so. And from inside the cell, you should be able to know whether something has bound to that site. Because inside the cell, you can see a little nubbin appear. So in this model, the cube will represent insulin, which is itself a molecule. This is an insulin receptor. It receives the insulin and binds it fairly tightly. Very specific shape, and allows the inside of the cell to know insulin has arrived. Insulin has arrived. This is what I'll call the resting state of this cell. No insulin. The glucose transporters are in here. When insulin arrives, it's a signal. It's a signal. Ba-da-da-da. And now, within the cell, these glucose transporters should come to the surface. To do that, unwrap the ring and imagine those glucose transporters now reaching the surface of the cell. I'm going to use a little tape to hold them in place. So here now, insulin has arrived, the glucose transporters are on the surface. We can't actually stuff the glucose molecules through here, but if you can imagine really small molecules. So if here's my bloodstream with glucose molecules swimming along, then zoop, through the hole it goes, through the hole it goes, and I will end up with glucose inside the cell. While insulin is present, this cell can be fed. When the insulin goes away, which it will eventually, that's a signal to store these away for later. Like your Christmas decorations, store it for later. Put it back in its ring form. Put it back inside. So now we have a well-fed cell. Those little beads are glucose molecules. There's no need to gather additional glucose molecules, so the transporters can lie dormant inside the cell. They'll only come out when another insulin binds here, which should be after the next time you eat a meal. When it's time for your next meal, this cell will have used up the glucose that it had inside. You eat a meal, bloodstream gets filled with new glucose molecules streaming by. Insulin will be produced by your pancreas saying, come and get it, come and get it. So that's the signal that then this cell will deploy its glucose transporters, put them back on the surface. Instead of letting all that beautiful glucose just stream on by, this cell will start importing it, importing the glucose, so it can once again be a fed cell. Then the insulin will go away, and we'll start this process all over again. That's the story of insulin.